Well, let's talk about Miss Deb Decelle. And you may or may not have heard about her yet, but you will. She's got some very beautiful things going on that we'll talk about a little later, but let me tell you about this woman because she is an educated medium and mentor. She is the best-selling author and compiler of the soon-to-be. She's in the soon-to-be party, and it's happening very soon, and I'm so grateful to be a part of it. The Intuitive Entrepreneur, Deeper Connections for Soul-Driven Success book, and that is dropping April 22nd. And we have been talking, I was talking with you earlier, Deb, when you weren't here. We were talking about that whole intuition piece to success and the interrelationship that it plays. So this woman lives that. Her topic is, do you really know your intuition and the power of it? Something that you did not know about Deb is that the first time, as if we do it often, but the first time she decided to literally jump off a cliff, she was 49. The music that she's gigging on right now is some Bob Marley, Three Little Birds. I'm sure we all know that song who learned it in school on the guitar. Okay, and her gift to everybody is a beautiful, beautiful abundance meditation. Hello. And she has got a beautiful $600 package for someone who's listening to win. It is a private 4-week custom tailored leveling up mentoring package with her personally. So Deb, welcome to the Stand Up, Speak Up and Show Up stage. I am sure it will not be your last.
Thanks so much, Deb. It's such a pleasure to be here, and what an honor to share the virtual stage with so many incredible women. I just want to thank you. I want to thank Carmel. I want to thank Desi and everybody working behind the scenes. You gals are amazing, and I'm just so grateful to be here. So thank you from the bottom of my heart to yours. So I want to talk about intuition, okay? How many people have heard the phrase women's intuition? If you can just raise your hand for me, okay? And it's interesting because we know that kind of intuition is accessible to all people, okay? But as women, especially trying sometimes to live in a man's world, we're taught to trust our logic, our intellect, things like that, okay? Intuition really is about that quiet inner voice, that wisdom, that sudden knowing, that sudden whisper or hunch or feeling. Okay. And it's interesting too, because I really want to open your eyes today to the possibility of reclaiming your intuitive power. Because the thing that I know beyond a shadow of a doubt, part of my passion is teaching other women how to use their intuition and discover their intuition. Is I really want to talk about how intuition shows up in our lives, because it's not just, oh, I have a gut feeling, okay? And the other thing that I'm going to say is that as women, we've carried the wisdom of generations behind us. It's in our bones, ladies. And so, really, it's inherently a part of who we are. And can be a part of our everyday lives. And so today I'm going to invite you to reconnect with that inner wisdom, with that inner dialogue, okay? And intuition is interesting. How many of you have had that, again, that gut feeling? If you can just raise your hand real quick for me again, okay? And the other thing I'm going to say is it's not just in our gut, okay? Who has a piece of information, or you might just have a feeling about something and it's not great and you can feel it in your chest? Raise your hand if you've ever experienced that sensation where you feel it here and not down in your belly, okay? So sometimes when we're getting that intuitive wisdom, there's not necessarily logic behind it. We just kind of know what we know. And it's a way for us to really dial in not only to ourselves, but it empowers us to connect with other people in a really special way as well. Who else has felt butterflies? Okay, we've had that sensation, butterflies in the belly. Okay, and so we know at times that's alignment. So we get physical clues and cues from our own physical body about intuition. Okay, the other thing is too, is sometimes intuition will come through as clarity of thought. Remember how I said a few minutes ago, you just kind of know what you know? All right. Sometimes you have thoughts that come in and they're incredibly crystal clear. And you haven't done any research, not much thinking. You're just thinking, yes, I need to do that. I need to do that. Okay. Another cue that sometimes can happen is a sense of peace and calm. So, who here has ever had to make a tough decision? Okay. And when you do, and you know you've made the right one, sometimes you're filled with this flood of peace. Okay. And that's how you know you've made that right decision. So that's another way that our intuition kind of cues us up or says, hey, heads up, listen up. Okay. Another way that our intuition can kind of pop up is in dreams and visions. Okay, so some people receive intuitive messages through vivid dreams, during meditation or quiet moments. Has anybody had something kind of swim into their mind's eye, a picture kind of in their head while they're sleeping or meditating or something like that? If you could just wave your hand at me. Yeah. So, these are different ways and different cues from our intuition. And no matter how it manifests, the important thing is to recognize it when it's happening and to trust it. And if your body or your mind is telling you something, there's a reason for that. Okay. Now, there are some ways that we can really start to strengthen our intuition, to strengthen that intuitive muscle. Now, I've heard a couple gals here today talking about meditation, talking about breathing, and I love it because one of the ways that you can really dial into that intuitive part of who you are is quieting your, what I like to say, quieting your muggle mind. So, for any non Harry Potter folks, Muggle is a word for non-magic folk, okay? So this is really about quieting your Muggle mind or your regular brain and allowing that intuitive side to take over. And there's so much wisdom in just getting quiet. Now, who here has monkey mind and cannot meditate to save their life? Anybody, anybody, anybody? Wow, I've got some wonderful ladies here. Well, sometimes it can be a challenge. I'm going to challenge you a little on that because when we're very stressed and there's a lot going on, okay, sometimes it is really hard to settle down, to quiet down, okay? And so what you might do is use other ways to quiet your mind, whether it may be journaling or taking some deep breaths. You could do the four square breath that was mentioned just by Pat, who was speaking. Okay. And so that's another way for you to quiet that. Another way is just to take a walk very mindfully. Okay. Smelling the scents, listening for the sounds, noticing the temperature of the air, feeling different textures. Okay. So that's something that can really help us tap in to that side of our intuitive awareness that gives us greater insight and connection. All right. Another thing that is really helpful, who has heard of grounding? If you can just raise your hand at me if you've heard of grounding. Okay. Some folks have and some folks haven't. And grounding is really connecting to Mother Earth, to Earth energy. Okay. And when it is warm out, it is the most wonderful way for us to get grounded quickly if you don't have sensory issues is to take off your shoes and socks and get your feet in the grass or on the sand. And it's literally grounding you to the frequency of Mother Earth. Okay. And when we're in tune with that, when we're grounded and level, it's like we're taking that deep breath. And there are other more interesting or other interesting ways to ground ourselves as well. Some people love to use crystals, some people use their breath. Um, but staying grounded is something that's so incredibly important as well, because it really helps us to be in alignment with the polarities of Mother Earth. Okay. Another way to strengthen that intuitive muscle and that intuition is to pay attention to your body. Remember a few minutes ago when I was talking about all the ways that our intuition can swim in, okay? And so we're not just paying attention to the gut, because when we think of intuition, we want to say, oh, that's my gut instinct. Oh, that's what my gut is telling me. And while that's true a lot of the time, paying attention to all of us is really stinking important. Who here has ever had a sore throat or a cough when they're going through a hard time? Anybody? Okay. And who here is familiar with the chakras in the body? Okay. So the energy systems in the body. Well, guess what? Sometimes things can have an impact on the physical body. So, say you're going to deal with something really heavy, really challenging, really hard. And all of a sudden, and a hard conversation is coming, and boy, don't you just know it. And your stomach might be in your throat a little bit, and all of a sudden your throat is scratchy, maybe you're coughing, okay? And one of the ways that you can start to pay attention right here in our throat, that's our throat chakra, okay? And so your physical body can also give you cues about your intuition, about things that maybe you're a little bit off, okay? And then all of a sudden you need to have this hard conversation, and you're a little mixed up because you're like, okay, I'm coughing, my throat feels kind of funny, and what that indicates is a blockage or discord here in the throat, in that throat chakra. And so that gives you the wisdom, and you can Google fun exercises and things to bring the throat chakra back into alignment, back into balance. And sometimes you can do that just by simply putting your hand on the area and just bringing warmth and light to that area. So paying attention to all areas of our body, not just our bellies, not just our gut, is something that's really important as well. Okay. And you can use, there are tools that you can use to guide you and different things that you can do in order to amplify your intuition. I'm a gal who loves crystals. One of my favorites is selenite, which is amazing. It's a white one, and it really helps you clear out stagnant energy. Has anybody walked into a room and this is a good one. Has anybody walked into a hotel room and just thought, bleh, this doesn't feel very good? Okay. I'm here to tell you all, I'm the one that's had to change rooms. I don't have to do it often anymore, but on occasion I do. And when I'm going to those hotels, I bring a piece of selenite with me, and I just kind of wave it around the room to help kind of clear out that stuck and stagnant energy. Because the other thing we know is that we're all these vibrant, intuitive beings. And so we really need to pay attention to our energy. And we can also use intuition in all areas of our lives, not just when we sit down with the intention to use it. We can use it in business. We can use it in education. We can use it in relationships. When we really are dialed into those senses, that quiet inner knowing, it can really help us change the game. And our intuition can also guide us to opportunities. And I want to speak to that for just a second, because I was in a networking meeting and I met a fellow and I spoke to him about my book project. And he said to me, there's just this woman that you have to meet. And so the next thing I knew, I had this woman's cell phone number, and that gal was Deb Drummond. And I have to tell you, when he gave me her number, I was like, I could feel it in my bones. I could feel this feeling of, oh my gosh, this is going to be a wonderful and a great connection. Okay. So, what I really want to leave you with is that, yes, you do really know how to use your intuition. And it's innately part of you, who you are. It's your birthright. And embrace it, learn to grow with it, and learn to shine it as a light into every area of your life.
Oh, that's so beautiful. Thank you so much. Wow, what a powerful, what powerful conversations that we are having. That was amazing. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Let's do the jazz hands and the hearts, because I know that we don't let you off mute for all sorts of cool, funky reasons. Um, it would be loud. Thank you so much, Deb. And that was so interesting. I'm going to finish that off before I bring Carmel in to have a conversation, because, you know, we just finished talking about intuition. We've talked about breathing. We talked about all sorts of things. And I did introduce Deb as a educational medium. And it just so happens that one of my dearest friends of 40 years plus, you know, went to the other side. And there was just some nudging going on. And I just knew, okay, you got something to say. And then all of a sudden, this great guy that I know, Joseph, and for those of you that were at the Oscars with them, you would have seen him with his table and doing his thing. And he was incredible. But he's like, I've got this woman I need you to meet. I think you guys should talk together, because I got a feeling, right? That feeling, whatever we had, butterflies, whatever, all the stuff you talked about. And I was like, okay, sure, great. And he goes, okay, her name's Deb. And I'm like, that can't be bad. She's got the same initials as me, right? And so he puts it together in a text thread. And so me and Deb, hi, I'm Deb. Hi, I'm Deb. And then I go, well, send me your stuff. I'll send you my stuff. And we made a time to meet. And I clicked through and I saw that it was Medium and her name was Deb. And my girlfriend that passed over was Deb. And I was like, Deb put you in touch with me. And when we first started talking, she started Medium through Deb, and it was incredible. So that was very much a robust, intuitive experience for everybody.
Indeed, I agree.
Yeah, it was really incredible. So thank you. You have a book launching April 22nd. You know the deal. You're also 262 book. This is spectacular. Thank you so much for sharing. We have a gift to give away, and I have a question. But before I do, I wanted to bring Carmel in and, you know, share your words of wisdom. And then I have a question for everybody, and then I have a question for Carmel to share and talk about a little bit.
Yeah. Well, just on the subject of intuition, I love everything that you said today. And I think it's such an important topic for me personally, because for so many years I ignored my intuition and always suffered the consequences.
Yeah.
Right? I was very cerebral as a kid. I did very well in school. I got a lot of rewards from my thinking brain. And the other part of me wasn't really paid attention to. You know, I didn't get positive feedback. It wasn't negative feedback, but there wasn't any positive feedback. And so it's only been in, you know, the later parts of my life that I've tapped more into my intuition and learned to trust myself more. And I think that's a big part of it. Intuition is trusting yourself more and believing that you know the right thing, that you can feel these things. So I just absolutely bang on. Wonderful topic.
Thank you so much.
I agree. And I think that a lot of us talk about that. I mean, you know, Kathleen talked about as she gets wiser, because depending where you come from, and we talked about that with Grace, like the culture of her home was very different to the culture that she was raised in. Does the culture talk about intuition? And was that a word that you used? And was that a word that you heard? And was it a word that you heard, even if you heard it, as something to live by or make decisions from? So you might have heard the word, someone is quite intuitive, but you never really put to that word that that's a major component of decision making for the success of your business. I mean, when did that really start getting hot and heavy? What, 5 years ago, maybe? People were like, oh, you know, or I remember when I first heard that there's many presidents that, you know, go to astrologists or go to this and rely on that mathematics. And when I studied Ayurveda, high level mathematicians and astrologists are considered same. So it's very, very interesting. And again, really super happy and proud and all the things that it takes someone to, like, yeah, claim it as their full-time work as well, right? Produce books about it, produce summits about it, and make it accessible and available, which is what we're all about. So thank you, Deb. I know someone wants to win because, you know, don't we all? And I want to say, it's one of the things when people say, what can I do for the movement? They go like, you know what, oh my gosh, I can't believe what you're doing. What is, no, first of all, bring your sisters. First of all, there's a donation button, please do that. But first of all, I want to say thank you to all the women that have sponsored themselves to be here and given their time. Please, we make it accessible, meaning that it's not costing a lot to come here. Please support the speakers, either purchase their services, have a conversation. It doesn't cost anything to go do a big cheer out on everybody who spoke today. Like, take their free stuff, look at it, read it, do it, and supporting the speakers is a really big part of it. So now I'm going to make this easy because it's something that you've probably all heard about. Deb was talking about, even for the best of us that know how to meditate and can do it, we have life. We have life. And sometimes life can even hit the best of us, spiritual, non-spiritual, meditation, grounding, chakra piece, right? And she talked about sometimes it's difficult to meditate because we have this mind. And she attached a little animal to it. And we know it's called, there's an animal and then a mind. So what is it the animal she uses to describe the inability to get, clear, solid, and comfortable with yourself to be able to meditate? Put that in the answer with your email, put it in the chat, and someone is going to win an incredible 4-week mentoring package with this woman. Thank you so much, Deb. Thank you. Let's do some love. Let's do some love and some hearts.